This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Unmani.
Hello.
So, welcome. I usually start with some music, but today we have some technical difficulties, so no music today. But we'll just wait a minute while a couple more people are joining. Okay, well, so as you may notice, I'm in a different place. I'm in England this time. Normally, I live in Portugal, and but I'm visiting my family in England at the moment. So it's lovely to see you all. And as I said, sorry that we don't start with the music as usual today. I'm just having some technical difficulties, so we couldn't get the music going today. But just to say welcome to all those who are here on Zoom, and also those who are joining on the live stream on YouTube. Okay, so today's theme is mindfulness versus presence. And this theme was suggested by someone, I can't remember actually who. Maybe I hope that you're watching, whoever it was who suggested this theme. And just a reminder that if you would like to suggest a theme or a question for one of these live streams that happen twice a month on Wednesdays, you are welcome to email us at admin@dietolove.com, or we have a Facebook group especially for making suggestions for these live stream open meetings. And the link to that Facebook group is on the web page for these open meetings. So you can join the group there and make any suggestions. Yeah. And I love to hear your suggestions because I run out of ideas for these these open meetings. So I'd love to hear what is relevant for you, what is a burning question or a particular theme that you are exploring in your life. And I'd love to address that here. So let's start by just a short guided meditation. So if you just get comfortable and you can close your eyes. And you can take some deeper breaths, letting go of whatever was happening in your life before coming to this open meeting. With each breath, relaxing more and more into this present experience, whatever it is for you. Feeling the body in this experience now sitting on the chair or the sofa or wherever you are. Noticing the contact with the seat, the feet on the ground. Noticing any sounds around you. Noticing any sounds from inside this body, whether it's the gurgling of your belly or the breath coming in and out of the nose, or any other weird and wonderful sounds that this body might make. And then you can notice whatever sensations are happening for you in this moment. What is the present experience for this human? Noticing the physical sensations, but also the emotional sensations. And if there are thoughts that have anything to say, any commentary, we just notice them too. Just like any other sensation, we don't give thought any more importance or meaning than anything else. And we notice the breath just the way it is. And with each breath, we can notice how this breath comes in through the mouth or the nose and then passes through various parts of the body down to the chest, the belly, and then up again. And with each breath, with our attention on the breath, there's more relaxation, more presence, more attention to what is present. Because the breath is always a wonderful anchor to this present experience, this moment. Anytime we might be caught up in thoughts or some kind of uncomfortable experience, the breath is always here as this anchor to what is real, what is happening right now. It is always supporting us to be here, to come out of dreams, to come down to the ground and meet whatever is happening right now. So then we can just take a big, deep breath. And then maybe as we let it out, we can have a little stretch. And when you're ready, you can open our eyes. So, our theme today, mindfulness versus presence. Well, of course, it is in the title, mindfulness versus presence. In a way, with that title, there's the assumption that it's one or the other, that they are somehow opposing each other. But in fact, nothing opposes anything. Everything is included and everything is welcome. And there's no problem with one or the other, and nothing disturbs one or the other. But it's something to explore because there are some misconceptions with this. Because when we are practicing mindfulness, of course, there are many benefits with the practice. especially when we are starting out on the spiritual path. Practicing mindfulness can be a nice way in to spirituality. It is, mindfulness has become very popular in the mainstream world now. It's not such an alternative thing. It's like a buzzword now, but of course it is very ancient wisdom. But it's obviously been repackaged now as this modern technique that is very simple for people to take in our modern world, where we need like a quick fix, something that we can hold on to support our daily lives without having to participate in a particular tradition or religion or spiritual pathway. We can just listen to a mindfulness audio or read a mindfulness book, and within minutes we can practice mindfulness. We can know what is meditation through this practice. So I know that mindfulness has been very supportive for so many people and has introduced meditation and spirituality to people who would otherwise not have found their way into it. And so what is mindfulness, first of all? Mindfulness is basically the practice of noticing what is presently appearing, in a way just as we were doing in our guided meditation just now. It is the practice of feeling the sensations that you feel right now, and noticing the sounds, noticing the sensations, the breath, or whatever is presently appearing. And that can be very subtle as we bring our attention to the sensations, the very subtle sensations, even as I touch my fingers like this, just the very subtle sensations of the skin touching the skin. Or we can practice mindful walking, like a walking meditation, where as we put each foot, as the foot touches the ground with each step, we notice the contact in each subtle experience, each subtle moment of the foot touching the ground, and to really bring the attention to these very subtle and kind of moment to moment sensations. We slow down and we really take the time to bring the attention to all the details of the present experience. And this is something that, as I said, is very supportive in our busy lives, in our busy modern lives, because we're usually rushing around and overlooking the present experience, the wonder of the present experience. Because we are usually just running from here to there and chasing some future moment, some future goal, and imagining that one day then I'll be happy if I just achieve this or that, or do this or that. And so practicing mindfulness reminds us that this moment, whatever it is, however it is, even if it's uncomfortable, or even if there are thoughts that say, I don't like this or don't want this, that this is amazing. Just the very fact that this present experience exists, just the way it is. It's mind-blowing. So this is beautiful, right? This is really beautiful to acknowledge the present experience. To take the time to slow down, to listen to the sound of the wind, or to sit in nature and just notice the scene, or to just sit with a friend and just take a moment just to look at them, or to really feel how they feel with you, or to take a moment to feel your hand and to explore, even look at all the details of your hand. So, it's an endless playground, right? And then, okay, so then the other side of mindfulness is that it can become a mind game. Because obviously it's the nature of the thinking to be overlooking things and to be busy with the future or the past, to be trying to manipulate or strategize or navigate through life, as is its nature. And so then we will naturally forget to be mindful. And then perhaps there may be thoughts that say, oh, damn, I should remember to be mindful. I've done it wrong. I've forgotten. So you'll be kind of beating yourself up for forgetting. So then there'll be this forgetting and remembering. And then there'll be an idea that when I am mindful, then that's the better experience. That's the ideal experience. That's the preference. That's my preference. Because usually when we are more mindful, there's more of a sense of expansion and calm in the body. And when there's moving from the thinking, then it can be more of a sense of restlessness, maybe contraction or other uncomfortable experiences. And then also taking our thoughts more seriously and meaningfully is generally uncomfortable. But there is the idea that one experience means more. It has a higher value to me than the other experience. And this is where there's a confusion. So then what is presence? What is this message that I'm pointing to here? What is presence? What is the truth of who we are? This that you are doesn't require any practice. It is very simple. It doesn't require you to do anything or bring your attention to anything. It is already who you are. And we can use the word presence for that, although it gets a bit confusing if we use presence for both. Because with mindfulness, we are bringing the attention to what is presently appearing. And this can enable us to experience the experience as a sense of presence, which is an experience. So when I talk about the recognition of who you are, I might use the word presence, but this is the presence that is always. So in this case, maybe just to avoid confusion, I'm not going to use that word for who you are. I might use the word, I could use any word, but let's say freedom. I could use peace also, but the word peace also has a similar misunderstanding or confusion, because it also sounds like an experience. In fact, all words, of course, will be confusing and misunderstood. But let's say freedom. So who you are is the freedom that is always here. And it doesn't require you to put your attention on it, because it is not an experience of any kind. It is only recognized. It is not experienced. And this is very confusing for the mind, especially if you've practiced mindfulness or meditation, and you have these kind of experiences of expansion and presence. But this recognition of who you are, of the freedom that you are, this is there. It is here always, even if you are not mindful, even if there are a lot of thoughts, even if you are chasing some future experience, even if you are experiencing a very uncomfortable, restless experience, even if you are believing your thoughts, believing in a separate identity, who you are is beyond all of that. It is that sees and knows all that is happening, which is why I use the word freedom, because it is free no matter what. It doesn't need the experience to be in a particular way in order to be free. It doesn't need the experience to be an experience of being mindful or present in order to be the absolute presence that is always. And this actually brings a lot of relief and freedom in your experience also, this knowing, this recognition. Because if you recognize the presence that is always here, then in your experience, if you overlook or you are caught in thought or you don't always feel so free or present, you know that this is just a passing experience. It may not be the ideal experience, it may not be your preference, but it is always present. It is always freedom, no matter what. Now, of course, if your experience is very busy, a busy mind, and if you're believing in a certain identity and taking those thoughts very seriously, then it is more challenging to acknowledge and recognize that who you are is beyond all of that and is always free. But this recognition doesn't need to happen all the time. It's not something that makes your experience better. You see, the practice of mindfulness can improve your experience, but the recognition of who you are doesn't necessarily improve your experience, because who you are, in actual fact, doesn't care about your experience. It is that is aware always. It is simply aware, and it has no preference for one experience over the other. So it's not something that can be used to self-soothe when you're in a challenging experience. You can use mindfulness for that. You can use any other practice for that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Which is why I'm saying that actually mindfulness isn't kind of versus presence. It can be used as well as, because presence is always who you are, that freedom that you always are. And then within that, you can practice anything. whatever works for you. Mindfulness is a beautiful practice. But even when you forget to be mindful, you are always the freedom, you are always the presence that you're trying to be more of in your experience. So actually it brings a lot of ease in that practice of mindfulness, because if you know that you are in fact always present no matter what, even if you forget to be, and then it takes the pressure off this trying to be present. Then you enjoy those moments when you bring the attention to the details of this present experience. And then when thought comes in, well, then you notice that thought is happening presently, that an identifying with a certain thought story is happening presently. That in fact, everything that is happening presently, no matter what. It doesn't exclude thoughts or beliefs or assumptions or fears. Who you are includes it all, without exception. So I'd love to hear from you now. So you can just raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question or have a dialogue. And you can also, if you want, type a question in the chat. But obviously I prefer to have an actual dialogue with you. Margot.
Hi, Wani.
Hi.
Yeah, I really loved your talk. It got me thinking about a conversation I had this week with one of my best friends, and I don't know why, but oh yeah, I was telling her that I'm going to your retreat in Holland this summer. So I mentioned your name, and my friend knows that I've been following you for the past decade. So I've probably, told a lot about you over the past years. And my friend said like, oh yeah, Omani, you told me a lot about her. Is she enlightened? And I was sort of startled a bit by that question and that word, because I don't know, enlightenment and being enlightened, it's such a big concept. But I just immediately said yes. I was like, I don't know, I just felt like saying yes. I think she is, because I mean, as far in as much as that concept has any meaning, well, I just said like, I think Omani is, if there's anyone that I know that I've like met in person that I think is enlightened, then it's her, because she's just so in touch with that thing that we all are. But it's, I don't know, yeah, your whole talk about this difference between being mindful or practicing mindfulness or being this person that's very much in the now all the time, has nothing to do with, or yeah, it's different from the thing that we truly are. And this thing that we truly are is not different from person to person, and even like I have the feeling that there's this in the spiritual community, this mind game of like, oh, that person is enlightened and that person isn't, and how do you see this sort of labeling of people who we think are more in touch with the thing that we actually all are? Is there okay, just it gets me confused.
Okay, well, first of all, I find what you shared very sweet and touching. Yeah. First of all, I've never really been interested in enlightenment. I've never, it's never been a concept or a label that I kind of bothered with, really. I wouldn't know whether I'm enlightened or not. I don't even really care. It's for me, it's always been about the truth. What is true? What is true? What is true? And what is true is that there's no one in here or there, um, and so who could be enlightened? So I don't even really get what that word means. But in any case, yes, this game, like what you were sharing about how on the spiritual path, in the spiritual world, people are comparing, who's more or less enlightened. I mean, this whole focus on the other being more or less enlightened is a bit silly, really, because when you're on the spiritual path, the main focus needs to be yourself, right? And what is true for you, and what resonates with you, what is true in your present experience, and standing in that authority to know what is true. And then whether other people experience more or less enlightenment or presence or whatever we call it, is irrelevant. It's about you. And it's about, whether you resonate with them or not. So when I've been to teachers in the past, I was never interested in whether they were enlightened or not. I was interested in, do I resonate with the message? Do I resonate with the flavor, with the energy? How does it touch me? How does it come in? What happens here? And if there's a resonance, then I follow that, and nothing else matters. I think that the more we focus on the other, or whether a teacher is more or less enlightened, it just becomes a perfect way to avoid confronting what is here. When we put a teacher up on a pedestal and say, well, they're so enlightened, it enables us to stay small and say, well, I'm not there yet, they're enlightened, I'm not. Or we then do the other way around. We say, oh, they're not enlightened at all, they're full of nonsense, they don't know what they're talking about, and we put ourselves up, and this is just the play of separation, right? So this is why I say it's got nothing to do with the other. It's only to do with the present, what's happening here. And then we meet the so-called other as an aspect of ourselves, in ourselves. Even right now, as I meet you in this experience, I'm meeting you and how you play out in me. The flavor of this Margot character, the energy of her, how she's experienced here. And it's never about you and what state are you in? Because you're not outside of who I am.
Yeah, and you're not outside of who I am.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we want to label that enlightenment, well, great. But that seems to just add some kind of extra label on top of things, whereas actually it's all very simple.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, very beautiful.
Mm. Thank you. Rose.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to say.
Nor do I.
But I was very touched. I really felt deeply touched when Marco talked about you being enlightened. And it's really difficult to describe why, but I felt this shiny warmth, kind of beauty. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Yeah, it was really a golden moment or something. And I don't know why. Like to honor that. And
Yes,
then
I felt the love, really, the love of that she was acknowledging.
yeah,
Maybe
and
that's
it was hilarious that you're just not interested. It's such a relief. And
I
it
mean,
made,
I've been asked this question again and again over I've been holding these meetings for 20 years, and it's just always, it always puzzles me why people are interested in enlightenment.
makes me laugh though, because my daughter, who's 19, always says to me when I suggest things, she always says, I'm not interested in enlightenment. Because I kind of might be trying to say, why didn't you do this? And she's like, no way. But what I wanted to say as well was something to do with this reflection or like the kind of magic that happens between people that isn't really to do with anything but this meeting. Because I think what really inspires me is connection. Or I find that so magical and important. And so with what you've been talking about, I'm really intrigued by what's happening when that connection happens. And maybe the kind of deeper the connection, the more presence or the more, I don't know, not presence, but I'm wondering, because there is sometimes that real magic and it feels so special.
Yes, and it's true, and not even but it's not an experience. I mean, it is an experience, but it's an experience that is like a bridge to that is not an experience. So you have those moments of beautiful dropping into the depths of presence. All the words fail, of course. And you touch into that isn't an experience in that moment, but it is an experience that comes and then goes. So that's why I call it a bridge in a way. And the
Yeah.
problem with those experiences is that the thinking then says that experience is it. That's the experience that I want all the time. And it tries to hold on to those experiences and make it mean something about me. And there becomes a preference for those experiences. So, although those experiences are extremely beautiful and we love those experiences and those experiences are magic, and we do want more of those experiences because they nourish us deeply. But at the same time, we can't grasp them. They come and they go, and they're out of control. The thinking wants to kind of manipulate the experience so that I can have more of those kind of experiences because they're better. I like them more. But if we can see that they're just experiences just like anything else that come and they go, then we appreciate them and enjoy them while they're here. We receive the deep insights and the gifts of those experiences. And when they pass, they pass. And then, it's out of our hands.
Mm. Yeah, it's very beautiful. And then what about if I'm looking at myself in the mirror? It's the same.
Yeah. 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 Disappearing into nothing. Yeah. I mean, of course, those experiences of connection, you could say, connection, or those bridge experiences, as I said, they're deeply nourishing, mainly because we connect into our true nature. We consciously acknowledge who we are. There's a conscious recognition. And it's, as I said, it's an experience that then passes. But in that conscious recognition, it's not about connecting with somebody else, although there might be a beautiful moment with somebody else, but it is about connecting to what is beyond you or the other. And that's what we're all most deeply longing for, to consciously acknowledge what is beyond these human characters, always.
Mm. Wow.
And when that conscious acknowledgement infuses a connection in your experience with yourself or with the other, there's such magic or beauty. We call that love.
Mm. Thank you.
Thank you. So I see, Kati, you've written a question because there's a lot of noise where you are. So you've written, I need a goal in this life. So this spiritual way is a goal. So it is scary to let this one go, right? Yeah. I look for something, and what you said has no goal. Yeah, nothing. So it leaves me with the frustration, but also free. Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah. This is the thing. Yeah. And this is why mindfulness is a beautiful practice, because in a way it is a training the mind to, well, I was going to say training the mind to be present, but the mind can never be present. But it's training the mind to see that these present moments where everything is fine, there's no problem, there's just this. It's training the mind to see that this is okay, that this is enough, that nothing is lacking or needed, that no goal is necessary in this moment. The nature of the mind is to chase a future goal. So it's not that you need a goal. It's just the nature of the mind, the nature of the thinking. It will always do that. It will always be chasing something in the future or remembering the past, comparing this and that. So that's why a practice like mindfulness can be very helpful to come out of those thoughts and just bring the attention to what is here now, using something like the breath or the present experience, the sensations, or looking around you. This can be a tool, a very useful tool to come out of the thinking. But yes, what I'm pointing to has no goal. It is just here, now. In fact, there is no spiritual path at all. There's no path. And this is the paradox, right? We have our human experience where it seems as if we live in time and that we are someone moving in time, as if you could be more or less present or more or less mindful. But simultaneously, there is nothing. So all you can do is just notice the thoughts and how they are chasing some goal and bring the attention back to what is presently appearing. Now, I like to use the sensations of the body as like the anchor for the present moment, or the breath. So anytime you are caught up in some thought story, you just bring the attention to what's physically happening. And then life is simple. No goal needed. Okay. Even if it's frustrating, right? Even if your present experience is frustration, then you just feel it, right? Feel the sensations of that. And thoughts will be like telling their story, but you bring the attention back to the sensation of frustration. How does that feel in the body? And it's uncomfortable, maybe. And that's why the thinking wants to tell its story instead of feeling it. Okay, thank you, Kati. Dennis.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. I was never interested in enlightenment. I just picked up a book when I was 20 and on Zen Buddhism, and I turned to a page and it said, "Who am I?" And that's what drew me in, just to answer that question. I knew there was something I didn't know that I needed to know. It's like a sudden resonance that was that's never stopped.
Mm.
So it's not like trying to achieve anything. It's just like the energy is just following that path. And I've had many of those glimpses that are really amazing and magical and nice. But uh, and my practice is just to be mindful of presence as much as I can. And really the most astounding experiences I've had were just kind of a intuitive knowing that there, which is I can only describe as a sense of freedom that I can't really describe. But it's not like I was seeing anything. It's just like it was just there. And that's come and gone a few times. So now I just feel like I'm in a dream all the time, but I can't wake up. And that's the frustration. I don't know what else to do other than just carry on with, just being, present, which I just mean mindful of presence as much as I can. But it's just, it's frustrating, but then it's not. It's like the frustration is just another thing. So that's my
In,
only question.
in what way do you feel like you're in a dream?
Well, I've had a lot of lucid dreams where I know I'm dreaming, but I know that I'm not the body and I'm not the character. And that's how recently it's just been more like that. Like I'll look at my body and it just doesn't even seem like me or anything. It's just like a dream body. So it's just a sense of there's a bigger truth here that's observing all this.
So what is frustrating?
I don't know. It just comes up. It's like, um,
Or what are you trying to do?
yeah, that's a good question.
Mm.
Um, I guess it's just an acknowledgement that there's this, it feels like there's this barrier somehow where there's this sense of me that like sort of influences everything. And I can take that sense of me and put it out in front of me. And then, but it just kind of like, it's still the mind doing that. So the best thing I can do is just be quiet and be present. Even when I'm doing things, I can be, internally quiet and present with it. But the frustration just comes up. I can't say why. It's like I'm trying to do something. Like I'm trying to like get past something or know something.
Yes, it's as if there's an idea that there's something lacking or missing.
I mean, how was it for you in when you were, you go to see Delano and try different things? Um, did you have a goal or was it just drawn into it?
No goal, just as I was saying before, it was just about truth. What is true? What is true? I had a strong sense of longing that was very painful. So I had no choice but to follow that. Nothing else was worth doing or living for. Yeah. So this idea that there's a sense of there's something missing or something that needs to be done in order to have a better experience will cause some frustration, because you're making some effort where effort is not necessary. And if you're making some effort towards some kind of goal and it's not working to get your goal, then that will be frustrating.
Thank you. Yeah, I just had a realization that it's just part of the process, that it's that it's not really a barrier. It's just something that came up that's just along the way. It doesn't feel like frustration now. It just feels like I don't know. It just feels like I'm just going down a bumpy road, but that's the road. I don't know.
Just a sensation to feel.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Which
It doesn't mean that there's something wrong or a problem or something missing.
yeah, that's the realization
Mm.
that this feeling isn't a block.
Mm.
It's just a thing,
Yeah.
and that the path is correct, which is just really what we're talking about, being present.
Yeah.
That just came up. Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, whatever, whether you recognize who you are or however, let's say, awakened you might be, it doesn't mean that you won't experience uncomfortable sensations like frustration or irritation or anger or any kind of emotion or sensation. It's just that none of those emotions or sensations mean anything about you, because often within, on the spiritual path, we are believing that if I feel that particular feeling, if I feel frustration, let's say, that must mean that there's some problem here, that there's something missing, something wrong, or it's not spiritual enough to feel that, or if I was really there, wherever there is, then I wouldn't experience that. If I was truly enlightened or whatever, then I wouldn't experience frustration. But frustration is just frustration. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about you. And that means that you're free to feel frustration.
Right. Got it. It's amazing how things you already know, like you didn't really know, it's like these levels of, you can hear the same words 20 times and each time it's different. And it's like more, more enlightening.
Well, that's why, we're always speaking to ourselves, right? And so you always know all of this already. It's just that you've been pretending not to know it. And so when you recognize something that I've said, it's like, oh yes, of course I know that. I already knew that. It's just that you realize that you'd been overlooking that point, or you'd been pretending as if you didn't know it. And that's the beauty of these recognitions. That's why it's a recognition and not learning something new. This isn't new. This is so familiar and intimately known by everyone already. It's just, we're in this wonderful game of pretending not to know this. And that's why, these meetings where we explore this together, it's simply about a kind of remembering or recognizing again what we already are, what we already know. So, thank you, Dennis. Well, it seems we've come to the end of our time for today. Just to let you know that the next open meeting live streamed will be on the theme, what does it mean to live from the heart? And that's on the 17th of April. And then also I'll be holding a weekend online retreat hosted by the Open Circle Center with the theme The Heart of Freedom on the 27th and 28th of April as well. So you're welcome to join me there. And actually the title, The Heart of Freedom, is the same title and theme for my 10-day retreat in Portugal in October. And the early bird discount for that is still available until the 15th of April. So yeah, you're welcome to book for that. So thank you very much, everyone. It's been a beautiful meeting. So thank you very much. Okay. Bye, everybody.